iTiS World of Worship Fellowship. iTiS is in truth and in spirit, World of Worship Fellowship. We get that from John chapter 4, verse 24. Yeah, and today is Monday. Monday means we do Q&A. Our Q&A is really open to everybody, as long as you're a knowledge seeker, as long as you're willing to debate, not shout or force your opinions down others. You're welcome here. Doesn't matter your belief system. So we have Christians here, we have fence sitters, we have atheists, we have agnostics, we have everybody here. As long as you're willing to have a discussion about this God we are all learning about on a daily, he continues to reveal himself to us. Yeah, so welcome. We do this via Zoom and we record this session and upload it to YouTube. So in case you miss the live Zoom, then you can always go to YouTube. Our channel is iTiS World of Worship Fellowship. You'll be able to see all the recordings that we do here. So welcome again. Welcome questions about life, about the Bible, religion, faith, philosophy, all sorts of subjects. Apart from politics, which politics we reserve for Thursday. On Thursday, we have another Zoom where we do just politics, economics, and other things like that. So that's the only thing we don't entertain on a Monday. Otherwise, you're welcome. Today, before we get into that, I don't have any questions in my question bank. So as I wait for the questions to come in, just wanted to give a chance to my brother Musaazi here, who has become a regular now, because I know he's intellectually curious. He likes to, explore the world. Yeah, so my brother Musaazi, let me give you a chance to share your story. As you said, story of
Thank you very much, Jethro. So the story is about how I became irreligious, how I became an atheist. Now, atheist is a word many people don't even want to use because it has negative connotations. Atheists in many places are discriminated against. Research has shown that in places like the United States, if you are an atheist and you are campaigning for the job of presidents and you are very open about your being atheist, there is a good chance that you cannot be elected. But countries like Australia, Greece, and many others have elected atheists because in those countries, I think the level of education is very high. That is not to say that in the United States it's not. I think in the US it's largely because it's a very religious country. Now, I think I'm going to stop there and go back to the real story. So, in my 20s, I started asking questions that did not make sense. Sorry, I mean, I started asking questions about things that didn't make sense.
Okay, maybe just to take you back, just take us back to the very beginning. How were you raised? Were you brought up Catholic, Protestant?
Okay, that's a very good question. I was raised a Catholic. My parents were Catholic. They still are. I am the only person in our family who is an atheist. And I attribute to the fact that I think for myself and I think independently. So for me, you may say this is correct, but if you are basing your belief on the fact that it's what very many people believe, not because it is supported by evidence, then I'm not going to go with you. So now I can go back to the story. In my 20s, I start asking questions about things that did not make sense. For example, why is it that when we go to the toilet to ease ourselves, maybe we want to do susu or to do B business, as some people call it. Susu is A and the other is B. That's the context. You can do that easily, but a woman giving birth really has to struggle. And sometimes, in fact, many times, if you go to maternity wards across Uganda, healthcare professionals attending to heavily pregnant women giving birth are going to tell you that we use cesarean, and each time cesarean is used, cesarean section, it means that a woman was struggling to give birth and would probably die or lose. The baby would die, the pregnant woman would die without cesarean section. So I was asking myself, why do such things happen? A woman is pregnant. It's God, according to Christians and other believers, who willed that this woman becomes pregnant. The woman is giving birth and is struggling to push out the baby. But people going to the toilet, apart from those who are constipated, do not really struggle to eject the waste that is supposed to get out of their body. Then there were many other questions. We grow up with vision that is strong, the ability to see. When we are aging, we lose that vision. If you look at people who are in their 60s, 70s, they are going to tell you, if you speak to them, they're going to tell you that their vision is not as good as it was when they were teenagers. If you have a God that really cares about people, give them vision to be able to see all the time, there is no reason why in teenage you are able to see things clearly. When you are growing old, you are losing this, you are almost losing this vision. So many questions, few answers. I turned to religious people, religious leaders, and almost invariably, many of them were saying, but you see, things to do with God, you really don't have to ask it. And I have a problem because God gave people brains to think. God gave people the capacity to think, which is higher than the capacity of other animals. So you cannot say that a human being who is asking themselves, why is this happening? Why is God doing that? Shouldn't ask those questions, because God is not supposed to be questioned. Anything about God is not supposed to be questioned. You take what you get. In fact, I could clearly see, and I still can see, that everything about God, many things, everything about religion had a lot to do with dogma. So after I failed to get answers, I started believing that we humans are here on our own. The belief that we are given this life and God is responsible for this life may be prevalent, But the truth of the matter is that if you want to take your life or to take the lives of other people, God is not going to prevent you from doing that. I used to write on social media, Facebook, and I would ask people that if you really want to know that you are in charge of your life, you decide when to take it. If you want to, put 100 people in the top of the worker's house, the topmost floor, and throw one by one to the ground. Whether God likes it or not, all those people, 100 people, are going to die. If you entered the old tax park, the new tax park with two guns that are fully loaded, God forbid, and you started opening fire on every single person in sight, you are going to kill hundreds of people. And God will not stop you from killing them. If you put 100 people in the middle of Lake Victoria and they do not have life jackets, they do not know how to swim, they will automatically drown. If you threw them into the middle of the lake and they have life jackets on, they are going to float on water. If they make a lot of noise, they are screaming. Boats on a lake moving around will hear their screams, and some people may come to their rescue and they may rescue them. So what am I driving at? Christians, Muslims, or people who believe in God, they believe that God is the one who grants you life, this wonderful gift. But the truth is that if you really want to take this life, you can take it. You look at things like climate change. We are very concerned about climate change. International organizations have huge budgets about money that is going to be used to see how we can save this climate. If God is in control, He is in charge of this planet. He created it. Human beings shouldn't be the ones destroying it. And if He doesn't want it to be destroyed, He is going to prevent that, to stop that happening. I used to speak to people about, and I still do, about these things. They're going to tell you, oh, but you know, when God created us, He gave us free will. Now, the problem I've had with many people about this claim is that when you say God, or when you say God does not act like that, you are giving the impression that you know what you are talking about. It's like you are talking about a personal computer that you use and that many other people use, so they know how a personal computer works. The fact of the matter is that of the 8+ billion people on this planet, there isn't a single person who knows, strictly speaking, anything about God. So when you say God gave us free will, this is not how God wants us to work or to do things, you are just expressing your personal opinion. It's not even grounded in facts, because I write opinion articles for newspapers, but my articles are based on facts. Here we are talking about a supreme being that nobody living on this planet knows anything about. You can go to India, you can go to Nepal, you can go to Bangladesh, you can come to Africa, Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Malawi, the Seychelles, Cape Verde, Senegal. You can go to all the countries looking for just one person who knows anything that is factual about the supreme being we call God, and you won't find anyone. You have religious books, but religious books were written by people. There is really nothing in religious books that you can say, no, this couldn't have been written by human beings. And the religious books, again, when I was starting to lose faith, I kept telling people that, look, the God that you say created us is responsible for everything we see on this planet. He is supposed to be omnipotent. He is supposed to be all-knowing. That God should know that the best way to show people that this is the evidence of my existence is not to cause books to be written, to inspire people to write books. Because you have very many people who are blind, they cannot read. You have very many people who are illiterate, they cannot read. So you cannot say that God, given his powers, decided that for people to know that I exist, I will create the Bible for them, the Quran for them. There is a much easier, a much better way of proving that you exist. So I would challenge many people I used to speak to in school. I would say, look, I have a problem with this. You are telling me I should read the Bible, but you are not telling me, how about somebody who cannot even read the Bible? How are they supposed to know that God does exist? God's existence should be like an earthquake. If Kampala is shaken violently by an earthquake, everybody in this city will feel this earthquake. They don't have to read anywhere to be told that an earthquake exists. So there were very many things that I was looking at. And when I turned to answers, I was always disappointed because people were talking about things in a way that suggested that they knew what they were talking about. In truth, they didn't know, because I've been saying, and I will repeat, if you say, but that's not how God wants us to behave, you know very well that very many millions of people who have lived here and have died, they came here, they knew nothing about God. They were told about God by the people they found here, and the people that they found here also knew nothing about God when they started life. They were born, they started growing up, and they were introduced to God by people they found here. Those people, to recapitulate, were not knowledgeable about God in the real sense, because the people who told them about God didn't know anything about God. You can go back generations and generations. So the belief that God does exist, God is responsible for creation, collapses because people who are talking about this do not know what they are talking about. You can ask me, but hey, Musaazi, you've been speaking now for it's coming to maybe 10, 15, 10 minutes. Do you really think things, living things, non-living things, created themselves? My answer is that we do not know how this life started. We do not know who created trees, who created lakes. And by the way, you have plenty of water in lakes. In the Pacific, The deepest part of the Pacific is, I think, like 12 kilometers from the surface. That's a distance of, in miles, you are talking about maybe 7 miles. So it's like from Kampala to Kajans. From Kampala, you are into this body of water, you are going to Kajans, plenty of water there. But there are many times when we don't even have water for crops, and crops fail. So you have this incredible amount of water sitting in water bodies, but people are starving because the crops failed. There is no rain. So these things do not make sense. And to go back to the question I had asked myself, who created things? If you say God does not exist, you created non-living things, living things. Human beings do not know. Now, because they do not know, many of them, what they decide to do is to say, well, if I don't understand this, I have to attribute it to God. But it's all very well for you to say God did it, but what do you know about God? When people speak to us about rain, we take them seriously because they know what they're talking about. If they are speaking about watermelon, we know that their information about watermelon is verifiable, is factual. The problem with anyone who speaks to you about God is that they are talking about something they know absolutely nothing about, and something you know nothing about, really. What you say about something you know nothing about means nothing. So, I don't want to go on and on because I think what I've said is very clear. That is how I became a non-believer. Now, as I conclude, I have to say I respect the right of people to believe in whatever they want. All people that I call my friends are religious people. I cannot say I have friends. I don't have friends because I don't like people who are religious. No, people should have the right to be religious, but the truth of the matter is that even the God that they say protects them doesn't, in the real sense, protect them. I give a very good example of a car and an umbrella and rain. If you are in your car and it's raining and you have an umbrella, you cannot use the umbrella in the car when it's raining because the roof of the car shields you from rain. Why am I giving you this example? The reason is that if God was protecting us in the real sense, we wouldn't even have security guards at home. We wouldn't have to wear life jackets when we are on water, on lakes, on rivers. So,
Thank you. My brother
you can ask me questions now, but that's my story in brief.
Yeah, thank you. I avoided interrupting you because I wanted you to tell your story, at least briefly. But
Yep.
what I've heard, at least, is you are raised Catholic growing up.
Yeah.
Then you are introduced to this God who you started questioning in your 20s.
Yeah, that's
And you
correct.
ask questions like, if he exists, why is there pain and suffering in the world, If he exists, why doesn't he intervene in some of the injustices happening in the world? Why doesn't he reveal himself in a more direct way as opposed to the Bible as you knew it, at the time? And many other examples you've given. I don't want to repeat. But that's what I've understood from your submission. So for me, it touches many themes about this God that we talk about. the question of pain, the question of the Bible, the question of revelation, and many other themes which I'm sure we're going to talk about. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. So let me invite some questions for Musaazi or some reactions to his presentation. If you've just joined us, our brother Musaazi was sharing his journey of losing his, I don't know that to call it religion or faith or both. But yeah,
Both.
faith,
So I'm
both.
irreligious, I am faithless, but I respect
And
the right people to be religious.
mm, okay, that's all right. Thank you. Yeah, so the floor is open, guys. Do you have any questions for Musaazi? Would you want to respond to some of his? Like I said, he has touched on so many topics which we may not necessarily exhaust today, but I know we can react to some of those. All you guys are muted. I don't know if I'm alone here with Musaazi or you guys exist. Okay.
No,
Are you guys
I am around, but
good who doesn't exist? Okay, Isaiah, at least you can hear
no,
you.
I was just telling you that I'm around, but now that I am almost the microphone here, I was giving chance to other people who were listening in to say,
They're not takers for now, so just speak as we wait for them to. I know Bob has windows in which you can speak and then which you can't speak. So just speak and then we'll see how to move forward. What is your response to Musaazi's submission? As a man who speaks for God on earth, actually, you theologians.
well, well, I think the major argument that you can draw from, first of all, I appreciate Musaazi for two things. One, the courage to associate with the people he clearly knows that he disagrees with. That is very, very, very interesting. That courage is commendable, really. Many people do not want to be part of those they clearly disagree with. But I really commend Musaazi for the boldness, the courage, and the tolerance. Tolerance is a secular word, and by secular I mean that it is a stereotype. But I commend Musaazi for the patience, because he's always here with us. We say all that we say. He knows he doesn't believe all that, but he stays around. So I really commend Musaazi for that patience. Then we are in truth and in spirit. We are a kind of believers that actually have space for non-believers, because we have nothing to defend, nothing to protect. We are out there in space to address every challenge, and to learn, to relearn, and to unlearn. That is who we are. Unlike other so-called believers, we are different in that aspect. Because for us, what matters is not our position, but what matters is the position of truth. So we actually at iTiS, we don't have doctrines of belief. We don't have that. We have placed ourselves in continuous revelation, and this is why we come here every Monday. We go to the fellowship every Sunday. We are on this internet, on social media, etc., provoking the world so that we can test our conclusions to see whether they can stand the test. And when they do, we encourage those. And when they don't, we drop those immediately. For those who have spent with us a while, will understand that we have dropped a number of things which we originally believed, like myself, Enoch, and Jethro, we used to belong to a certain religious group or denomination, and we dropped that because we discovered that that belief system was not coherent and corresponding to the actual worldview of life and what would actually address as true or truth, or what those who are not believers would consider to be facts, facts or actual logic. So really, I said all those because his story is a transition from Catholicism. I don't know how much he had appreciated Catholicism, how much he had known about the Catholic Church, their doctrines. His story sounded like he left when he was even still young, at a very early stage. But he transitioned from Catholicism to atheism. And that we share in common, by the way, because even us was a transition from a particular religion into another faith-based system of living in which we are. So everyone is granted, and I think everyone should actually experience those transitions in life from one place to another, from one knowledge to another. You know, it really makes sense, and I would encourage that we shouldn't stick around belief systems like they determine who we are. So change is a fact of life, and we should always continue doing that. Yeah. So I don't know whether you can hear me, but now, so that was in commending my brother Musaazi and even others. At iTiS here we have many different people from different backgrounds. Nicholas is a reverend in the Anglican Church, and others. So everyone is welcome. This is their place, actually, as long as they are willing to first of all appreciate the world of others. One, two, to be able to think critically about their own beliefs. Three, to also be willing to place those beliefs on the open table where we can do a surgical analysis on those beliefs. For me, I think that is really enough for you to belong here, to belong here. So for me, I really commend Musaazi for that worldview. Moderator, now that there are other people who have joined, would you mind telling them what we are dealing with, and then now I give my views?
Okay, yeah, sure. Gentlemen, and I see, yeah, two ladies have joined, Abby and Nina. The Gospel Ninja is here as well. Thank you for making it. Yeah, today is Monday. Monday we do Q&A. Q&A really is a discussion about all sorts of subjects, about life, marriage, religion, philosophy, God, prophecy, whatever it is about life. We discuss it on Mondays. And then Thursdays when we discuss politics and the economy generally. So today we don't entertain any politics. It's just questions about God and so on and so forth. Yeah. So you found us in the middle of a conversation with our brother Musaazi, who's online. Now, Musaazi is a non-believer, but of course, here we entertain people who challenge us, who want to share, and of course, those who are not here to heckle. Yeah, so Musaazi has been sharing his journey of his loss of faith and religion, as he calls it. He was born and raised a Catholic. And then somewhere in his 20s, he started asking questions and he didn't get satisfactory answers. He wondered why, first of all, there's so much pain in the world. If there's a loving God, why is there so much pain? That's one of the questions he has never got an answer to. And then he asked about there is the revelation of God. This Bible that is confusing, everybody reads it and comes up with their own interpretation. Why can't God just speak to us directly? Why, if he's in heaven and the sky is wide open, why doesn't he just, say something so that all of us know that he is the one and we actually prove? So his journey, he says he didn't get satisfactory answers to those questions and others. That's why he's where he is now. But he says he doesn't mind hanging around believers, which is why he comes every Monday. Yeah, so I gave him a chance to share his story because he had promised to share it a while back. And of course, we entertain, discussions of this nature here. So that is where we are. Okay, Bob, do you want to respond before I know your time is always limited. So Bob, just come in. Your hand is up.
Yes. I wanted to come in quickly as I got a little minute, just a few seconds to say something. Again, I also want to add the voice to Isaiah to appreciate Mr. Musaazi for his submission. And for me, as a believer and as a scientist, I can just say maybe one thing or two. First, that man's trying to understand how he exists does not nullify the existence of God. Okay. I have seen in different cultures trying to have their own way of defining how they existed. And again, I had a bit of here and there when Mr. Musaazi was talking because I was a bit busy. But man is trying to understand how he exists. And whether we are refuting God, as the Christians believe, it does not it does not indicate that God does not exist. Even when we see the pain in the world, it does not indicate that God does not exist. It looks at how we interpret things. I have seen an individual born without arms and legs, where another person would be in dismay and saying, oh my God, how can God create somebody like that? This individual has gone on to be a world icon, marrying a very beautiful model and having very beautiful kids. All of you have heard or have watched that guy, no arms, no legs, no problem. So I mean, we can try to understand and be on and try to choose a side on which to stand, but with every reason that I can think of that an atheist, for example, provides, whether suffering or people using weapons for killing, does not nullify the existence of God. Creating human beings and giving them the choice to now use the free will to do what they can, to do what they want with what he has given them. So I'll just stop here and just say that we just need to kind of analyze this situation based on, not based on the feelings we have, but on understanding, on trying to define our understanding of who this God is. And if we don't understand him, then we can conclude that he does not exist. But as a scientist, there are all these theories of having come from a cell and evolved and all these things. But to date, there's still a question of really now, have we stopped evolving? What is happening? How come we are not seeing monkeys transforming into human beings anymore? How did there has to be a point of start which we may not be able to understand, and that is where belief comes in. That's the end. That's my comment.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else wants to submit before I go back to Isaiah? I know most of you have just joined, so I doubt you'll have a lot to say. Maybe as we go along, you'll say something. So Isaiah, back to you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. What I have gathered from the presentation that took 17 minutes of Brother Musaazi's time, the key argument that that Musaazi makes as an atheist is that I don't know. In other words, Musaazi argues that unless you know and you are sure 100%, you cannot practice unless you know. I think that was the key argument. The other sub-arguments of Musaazi's presentation were if there is God and God loves his people like those who believe in God claim, why do we have problems in the world where that God is? That is one of the argument, the sub-argument to the other one. And there was also another. Can you remind me another, Jet?
The other one was about revelation. Why doesn't he reveal himself clearly? Why does he need a book, which some people can't read? They are blind.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's also a subject, but revelation of God, really.
Yes,
How he has chosen to reveal himself.
Why can't he just come out straight so that people get to know him? And then there was also another one, which is also a sub-argument. For me, not to Musaazi, by the way. I don't want to misrepresent him here. In his presence, actually. The other one was to argue that human beings are free will beings, is to assume that you know about that fact, that some being that believers like calling God, that God gave human beings free will. So those are the three sub-arguments that I picked from Musaazi's presentation. But the major one was you cannot practice unless you know. If you don't know, you can't practice. Okay, there's a message there written by Musaazi. Correction, nobody of the more than 8 billion people knows on this planet anything about God. What you say about something you know, what you say about something you know nothing about can't make sense. So yeah, sure. That is the major argument, actually. So the major argument is I don't know. Okay. Or we don't know. That was the major argument. So the rest, I don't think this one is a correction because this is what exactly I said. So this is the major argument of Musaazi. We don't know. Now that we don't know, we cannot practice. And by practice, I mean we can't act, we can't think, we can't believe. Those three things cannot happen where there is not knowing. And this not knowing we are talking about here is not even ignorance. No, we are talking of not knowing. And I would like the people here to understand us.
What are the three things again? Just mention them.
The three things is that you can't act, you can't think, you can't believe because you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So where there is not knowing, those three cannot happen. So from the atheist point of view, when you say that there is God and you have never seen him, how dare you believe there is what you have never seen? Number one, do what you have never seen told you to do. Act. Think around what you don't know. So that is That is the argument from Musaazi. Then the other sub arguments we can deal with them later. For me, this is very important for people in this Zoom call to address. And really, I am not even going to wrestle so much with this. I am just going to ask a question. Is it therefore true that whatever we think about, we act upon, and believe, we are 100% conversant with, and we know in life? If the answer to that is yes, looking at the entirety of life, then the argument from Musaazi from the perspective of atheism is right. There is no way you can start acting, thinking, and believing when you don't know. But if the answer from people who have lived this life and have had an experience with this life, if the answer is no, then we have a discussion. Then we really have a discussion. Moderator, am I understood on that point? Because I need people on this call to make sure they have understood me.
I'm following intently.
Are others following?
Yeah, I think it would be also good to, if you give an example of what we like, the things where when if you answer yes and no, it will maybe as you go on to give examples so that people can understand exactly. You can.
No. For instance, I'm going to give you examples of the things we are sure about. Okay. For instance, right now as I speak to you, in front of me on my desk, there is a desk here. This I know I can touch. And there's a laptop in front of me on that table that I'm using. And I can see your names here. And I can speak to you. And you guys can also communicate back. Facts, I'm very sure about that. I am 100% sure about that. So, in the event, okay, that I cannot prove that you guys are actually there, and this is not AI, especially in this generation of AI, because the following I can prove that where I am seated, there's a chair, there's a desk, there's a laptop. This is 100% facts and factual, because I can even touch. I am actually even in charge. I can even mute myself right now. I can even shut down. I am 100% sure. But if I am asked to prove 100% where each and every one of you on this call are, where you are seated, what gadgets you are using, how you are dressed, in the house or outside, that I don't know. Now, there are two conclusions here. The fact is a conclusion from I know. Because I have a laptop here that has your names here inscribed on this Zoom call, the conclusion is that I am speaking to the people that I know. Because I can see you here and I can hear you.
True.
Now, part 2 or part B is I don't know. I cannot prove that actually you guys are there. I don't know, because I don't know where you are seated, what gadgets you're using, how you are dressed, and what you're doing while you are listening or while you're attending this Zoom. That I don't know. Question. Shouldn't I use the latter? I don't know. And its details. Shouldn't I use that to dismiss your existence? Thank you, moderator.
Okay, I think the argument has been broken down very well. Mr. Musaazi, I was going to say Mwai Musaazi, which is the same reading. He's saying, if you don't have all the evidence, why do you even believe things you don't know? Because God, as you know, over the ages, the revelation has been progressive, at least according to us Christians. God's revelation is so, as in, we keep building upon that. We don't have the full picture, but we know that He exists. And also, scientifically, I don't know why it is wrong to actually have a hypothesis, give it a name, and then proceed with investigating that hypothesis. So Christians have called that hypothesis God. And they are investigating and coming to conclusions, learning, unlearning, and so on and so forth. I don't know why that is a problem. Maybe let me first give Musaazi a chance to respond at this point before I open up the floor to the others. Musaazi, everything we act according to the three things Isaiah gave us: act, believe, and what? What was the third one?
And think.
Do we know and think about? Yes, everything we act, believe, and think about. Do we know, including the science that many people hide under? Does science know everything? Mr. Musaazi, just unmute, please, and respond.
Yeah, thank you, Jethro. Let me begin with science not knowing everything. Yes, science does not know everything, but that is not even a disadvantage. It is actually a very good thing to say about science because it simply means that if science knew everything, it wouldn't be here. So the fact that science does not know everything means that it's how you are going to know what you do not know and what you've been able to know about this life, about this world, about this universe was because science did not know everything. It started working, it went to work, and it gave you answers. And the answers that science has given us may not be very many, but at least they are reliable.
Okay,
If we talk
fair
about
enough. Fair enough.
Sorry?
Let's just go back to the central argument about acting, thinking, and believing about things that we don't know. Let's go back to that point.
Yeah, on that one, it's very clear, and I am going to clarify it because when I wrote what I call a correction, priest said, no, that's not a correction. This is what I meant, is that if for you to say logically, I stress logically, for you to say anything that is going to say sense to those who are listening to you, you have to be talking about something you know now, something about, or something you've heard from people that know something about what you are going to say. And I said that we are 8+ billion people in this world, and there is not a single person. This is a challenge I keep throwing at religious folks such as yourselves. There is not a single person in any country, you can think of any country, where you will find someone who will say to you that I know what God is. I understand what God is, and whatever religious books, holy books say about God isn't reliable because we have more than one. There isn't even a very good reason. There aren't compelling reasons why a God would have more than one book about him. So if you are going to believe, if you are going to say God does this, this is not how God does things, logically speaking, you should be talking about something you know. If you yourself do not know, at least you've heard from people that know, and the fact that they know can be verified. But what we have is somebody telling you that that's not how God answers prayers. By the way, you are praying, but that's not how God answers prayer. And then you ask it, but how do you know what you know? How do you know what you know? So I'm not saying this to try to get people on my side, because whenever I come to these conversations, I just air my views and people listen. I really do not try to say, but no, you guys are wrong to believe this. No, I just say, well, you believe this, but logically, you have a problem here. So I hope I am clear.
That's why we come here every Monday to do exactly that. That's why we even give you audience or anybody else, really, because we are here to just check. But I see 2 hands up. I see Francis, and then I see Gospel Ninja. Let me start with Francis, and then Gospel Ninja will come to you. Francis?
Thank you, Jet. In trying to attempt the issue of knowledge or knowing about God, I don't think that the over 8 billion people, all of us have not the senses which human beings have, the different senses, the feeling, the hearing, the sight, all those senses. There are people over history and even present who have experienced God, or the concept of God, or the concept of supernatural entities, or entities beyond human understanding, or deities, I would call them. Because I think another atheist, not only they don't believe in both God and I think his adversary, that's Satan, those powers. In the different civilizations, there are stories of people write or tell stories about their experience with this deity. And even in the present day, there are people who have evidence. They have their own evidence. I'm a social scientist, and in social sciences, there is a way we collect information and try to deduce whether it's factual or non-factual, depending on how many people have had it, how many people have seen it, how many people have felt it, how many people, the consistency of the seeing, of the feeling, of the hearing, and of all that. The consistency of such information can give us a fact in social sciences or in social research. So I'm one of the, I would say I'm one of the lucky people who have had an experience. My belief is not based on what I've heard other people say. My brother Musaazi said that people have been born, and their experience with God has only been what they have had others they found around. But I'll give you an example. My experience, my social research. In my social research, I have a grandmother who had what in Luganda we call a chikulukuto. I don't know what they call it in English. Chikulukuto. Now this lady, my mother's mother. All my aunts and my mother and my uncles I've had a conversation with, including my grandmother when she was still alive. They told me this lady suffered from this chikulukuto for so many years. She sought medical treatment and it failed. And when she went to church and someone prayed for her, it instantly stopped, despite the medical failure. In my family, and that was from the different, actually, I quizzed so many of my aunts because I'm one person, I don't just take things on book value. I have to dig out and find a consistency in whatever information people are reporting to make sure that it's and there was a lot of consistency. Then in my family where I come from, my family, my father's my father is my father was in Luganda. We say my father Chitanga yali asamira. And my clan, of the Mvuma clan, we have a lot of background mu kusamira. To have a sese, we have a lot of background in Kusamira. Newaffe, where even where I'm staying, I'm a few meters away from Chita, we bayambuliranga abantu. But so I experienced that myself. I saw things, supernatural things. My father would be in two places at the same time. We would hear. I was demon possessed at one point. I remember those experiences. I've seen my siblings fight with a demon possessed, doing things, impossible things. I've had relatives. There was a 12-year kid who threw us it's like we had no energy when she was possessed.
Francis.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Since now, who died since your father had a double?
The physical, the physical one, because there was one which atayo geranga atakola chida that one oyo actually oli bwe yafa. No, but this other one disappeared some years back, even before my dad passed on. The other Twamitanga Wakanzu. When my dad Chatang waka, when you remove the what do you call that? That I don't know what it's called in English.
Shrine.
Weja shrine waka in the early 90s. Where that man disappeared. The second man disappeared. And even his riches diminished.
Hey.
But anyway, I've had a physical experience.
Let's not get sidetracked. Let's stay on course.
Yeah.
Just
I've had a physical experience of this, of both God intervening. When I had the demonic possessions and prayer effected on me, I got healing myself. I've seen other people healed from I've seen them evidentially. I've felt, I've seen. So I think there's some people I think who have I actually not think there are people I know, including myself and others, who have had an experience with the dark powers and God. So there is evidence. It's not only written.
Thank you, Francis. I think your point is there's evidence. You're a living example. Gospel Ninja, over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a good thing. I hope you guys are hearing me properly, right? Clearly?
We'll let you know if we can't hear you.
Kali. Yes, I'm in a place called Kabong, very far out there. So networking is all the. But thank you for this conversation. The idea that no one has seen God is, I'm sure you guys have heard about Black Swan argument, where, no one has seen a black swan. Even when you use that argument, so if we haven't seen him, logically the conclusion cannot be that he doesn't exist, because just because you haven't seen something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So ideally, even the logical conclusion, my brother Musaazi would have to get into the logic of it. Just because you've never seen a black swan doesn't mean black swans don't exist. That's why the black swan argument or thought comes in, because to which parts of the world. But now what we're discussing again is an entity that is not only entered by sin, and I think Francis alluded to the faculties that we have. We have a soul, we have a heart, we are a very, and the faculties that God is to use this language, because if we took, let's take the alternative. How then do we come to exist? The most probable product of mindless, unguided processes in nature, guided by, or rather, if guided at all by the laws of nature. And then you have many questions to think through in terms of the laws of nature and nature itself existing. We are just matter. And then you have a question of the soul. How do you believe we have a soul? If you don't believe we have a soul, you have a bit of explaining to do or thinking through to do about the whole nature of a human being. Because if you think we're just material, just flesh, there's a bit of risk there. You have to trade carefully. And why am I saying that? Because the explanation or the belief by Christians that God exists, or even religious people at large, God exists and God is creator of human beings. A creator is not like us. Human beings make cars. Cars are not like human beings. We make things. Those things are not like us. And so those things, chances are they don't even know us. They can't perceive us. But we use them. They can respond. They have a function for which we make them. But then even God transcends that. That's not. He didn't create us utilitarianly, like we may do stuff for him. He does not need us in any way or the other. We human beings create stuff because we need it. We make it because we need it to solve problems. However, the bigger thing is that God created us. If we are to agree, if we are to look on the other side and say, okay, can randomness, unguided processes create beings like us, smart, intelligent, moral, rational, even experience suffering and know it and hate it and find solutions? Yet we are products of a mindless, unguided, uncaring process. Really? That is disrespectful to our intellect, to our even hate for pain and suffering, because then nature wouldn't care. How do we care? The alternative explanation would be that actually what the Christians tell us is that there's a God who created us, a God who loves, a God who cares, a God who is aware, a God who is intelligent, a God who is moral, a God who guided and continues to guide processes. That makes more sense logically. Now, how then do we encounter him? Or rather, how do we know him? Because when we get to see this, and I loved the example that Francis gave earlier. Muganda wange, wekiwanga twogera bwe bagenda ne banyumya ku Pawulo mu Bible nti yasisinkana Mukama, oba Mukama yamusisinkana n'akyuka. Kino nkikubuulirira kuno ku call nkijja wange nti ate nkirirako nti abantu abamu twalokoka. Okitegeera, nagamba bagayi last week nti Kyambogo University baagigala mu 2002. Nze omu ku baakulembera strike nga sinnalokoka. Era mu 2003 banteeka mu University Council on disciplinary matters. Nze omu ku bo. Oba oyagala bujulizi buuza commentator gwe bayita Peter Otayi, yali nsoma naye Kyambogo. Ye baamugoba mwaka mulamba nti tebasobola kukitegeera. Naye the saving and transforming power of God. This is a global phenomenon. It is a historical phenomenon. Men and women through history have experienced it. For you to say there is no one I wouldn't want to stretch it into an insult, but I'm saying, bro, check with us first. Check with me. Mbuuza nga tona concluding nti 8 billion people are existing at eri. Nze ndiwo okuwa bujulizi bwange. Nti nkukakasa. Fe abamu twali bazibu mukko. Naye nze ngenze kabongo olwaleero naakatuuka ssaawa zino. Ngenda kusomesa basumba. I'm among the weak people, some of the least rich people with the gospel. and there are pastors here planting churches. My role as a theologian, as a trainer, is to come and teach them. I'm teaching them systematic theology from tomorrow to Friday. Why? Why? If it doesn't make sense, why? If it's not real, am I just trying to indoctrinate people? Why? Why? There has to be something bigger. Anyway, I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
if we're
Thank
getting
you.
if
Thank
we're
you very
getting
much.
into logic, yes, if we're getting into
Just
logic,
conclude.
we have to stretch it. Yes, it's okay. I've concluded.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I've seen a hand up from Bob. I've seen a hand up from Bob. Bob, do you want to say something? I don't know why Tom has unmuted himself with all that background noise. For some reason, I can't mute him. Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think he
Yes,
has
Bob.
muted.
And then Nicholas, I want you to say something after Bob. Yes,
Yeah,
Bob.
so for me, again, I'll talk on the side of science. We have a lot of scientists who are atheists. But for me, again, my conclusion on that line, in addition to what has been submitted earlier, is that what science is actually trying to do is to understand how God did his thing. Okay. Whereas as people of faith, you know, they take what is written in the Bible or whichever way they want to believe. The scientists who are refuting that, or the atheists, what all they are doing is to understand. We are doing research. I'm part of research, but every day we wake up to find solutions for diseases. We are actually trying to understand, how does this cell communicate with the other cell? How does disease occur? So we are trying to understand what God created. You know, now I'm talking on the side of a Christian, that if I know that God created me, what science is doing is that we are trying to understand how his creation works. And because we understand that God has endowed us with knowledge and wisdom, we are exploring that to understand God's creation. And trust me, you've heard of stories where they can remove your heart, give you an artificial heart, and repair your other heart they have removed and put it back. And they give you a heart from another person, an organ donor who ticked on their, driving permit, or that they are organ donors, that if they are in an accident and they cannot be revived, then they can, their heart or their liver can be used, can be donated and substituted in another person's body. I don't want to diverge, but I wanted to tell you to just let you know that as scientists, I think what we are also doing in this whole era of atheism, we're actually trying to understand what God created. And in the future, I won't be surprised if there are more innovations as this knowledge increases. They are creating AI beings or robots. It's basically all about understanding, how did God create this thing? So that's the role of science in this. And it's not, I don't think it's like atheists should be refuting the existence of a God, but because they have failed to explain the way things are, so science is trying to come up and say, oh, let us understand this complex creation.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Nicholas, are you able to talk? Tom, you have background noise. I'm not even allowed you to speak.
Yeah, not yet, honestly.
Okay. Tom, you have background noise. I can't give you a chance. I'm sorry. Isaiah, let me first come back to you before I go back to Musaazi. Has your question been answered? I know you ended with the question. Can we act, believe, and think about what we don't know? What do you think so far?
If you want to understand where my question came from, you need to go to the chat. Have you guys gone to the chat of this call?
Yes, I've been following you and Musaazi.
Yes.
I don't know Musaazi. Does it make sense to talk to him?
No, you first read Musaazi's correction.
Okay, correction. Musaazi's correction says, I said, what you say about something you know nothing about can't and doesn't make sense.
Good. Now, my response.
So your response is, I don't know Musaazi. Does it make sense to talk to him?
Now, that is the question that we need to answer. Does it make any sense? Then Musaazi said, if you mean God, I would say no. Why? Because you don't even know he will listen.
No,
Now,
no. Okay, I'm gonna mass. Hey, I won't provoke them.
Beko Ninja,
I'm
so
sorry.
call you, I'll call you back. Okay.
Ninda console.
Isaiah, good.
so for me, I want us to take it slow because me as a philosopher, this is a subject of my interest. Because the argument was, the key argument of Musaazi from the previous presentation was, we don't know. And my presentation was, is it true that whatever we act upon, think about, believe, we are 100% sure we have evidence and facts? Are we 100% sure of everything in our usual lives? That we are 100% sure. We are sure of our thoughts. We are sure of what we do, our practices and behavior, and we are sure of what we believe. I don't know any profession, and I am not an expert of all professions, but I don't know any profession that can come out and say they are sure about that. But well, I am not the only one on this call. People can come here. We are different actually professions. That is the good news. You can come and tell us that from your profession, you are 100% sure and you act on each and everything based on facts outside your profession and within your profession. So I came back to say that what you say about something, you know nothing about. Now, to conclude that people who believe God know nothing about, that is also a conclusion that is unwarranted. Because Musaazi doesn't know actually that those who believe God know nothing. There's a difference between not to be able to present him or not to give evidence that they saw him. There's that difference. And then also, there's also a difference between saying that they know nothing about God. I find this conclusion quite a blanket one. Okay, and then he said, doesn't make sense. Now, personally, I don't know Musaazi, and I'm sure Musaazi also does not know me. We have never met. I don't know his height. I just don't know him. I don't know his skin color. Okay, to be honest, I know nothing about Musaazi apart from the voice that I hear here, which is tagged as Musaazi. I know nothing. My question then is, does it make sense to talk to Musaazi and address him? Now that I know nothing, I am using the nothing of Musaazi. Does it make sense? This is the things that we need to think about. We could go in many things, but we are losing track. Then he said, if you mean God, okay? If by Musaazi I mean God, the answer would be no. It doesn't make sense to talk to Musaazi. So why am I talking to Musaazi?
Isaiah. Hello?
Edson.
Yes, me, I would think from your example of Musaazi, if you're to talk to Musaazi, you meet him, introduce yourself, and then you talk about probably something that you both have knowledge about, or if you have no knowledge about, if one party has no knowledge about it, then the other one teaches what they are supposed to talk about. So there's some introduction.
That's what should be done. Now, at the stage that it hasn't been done, does it make any sense to talk to him? Because I know you and you know me.
And you initiate, because you see there's
Edson, follow. We haven't met, because the argument of Musaazi says, no, of all the 8 billion people, no one has ever met God. And he's asking us, does it make any sense to act, think, and believe the God you have never met? Same example, carry it forward. I am having a conversation with a Musaazi I have never met and I don't know, and I know nothing. Does it make sense? According to Musaazi, squarely, no, it doesn't make any sense. But here we are. We are having a conversation. Shouldn't we use this conversation between the two strangers those who know nothing about each other, Isaiah White Mutabazi and Musaazi, shouldn't we use this and attribute this to those who believe a God they have never seen? If the answer is still no, then all this conversation between me and Musaazi on Zoom is null and void. Practically, which is not correct. Now, you people, these things you need to use to think. This is what we encourage at iTiS. You need to think about these things before you make these conclusions. That is number one. Number two, let us now discuss. Moderator, allow me only 4 minutes or 5 minutes, then I discuss for you this thing. Then I'll give way. Let us now discuss the logic of I don't know, because the key argument of Brother Musaazi in dismissing the existence and the belief in the invisible God was we don't know. Now let us discuss the logic of I don't know. Now, I don't know. These are 3 words. I don't know, or we don't know. Now, there is no confusion about the we and don't, or the I and don't. The confusion might arise in the know. Therefore, knowledge. Now, all of you who are educated, you have in one or another crossed paths with philosophy, and perhaps you might have heard of something known as epistemology. Epistemology is the
I can't hear Isaiah. Can you guys hear him? Seems to have
I can't hear him either.
Isaiah, are you still there? I hope you're not talking to yourself.
I think either the battery or he has lost network.
I think somebody called. You know, when you receive a call during. Anyway, let's wait for him. Gospel Ninja, I wanted to say something. Let's wait for Isaiah to come back. Just come in now.
Yes. So kakati, on the basis of how do we talk to Musaazi? Naddala nze Musaazi gwe simanyi gwe sirabangako. Now I'm not making an assumption that Musaazi is real, but Musaazi has revealed himself to me in a way that I can access him, and so far I have no grounds to doubt him. So what do I mean by that? On this platform, Musaazi has revealed himself. He has spoken. I understand the language. Yes.
The network is a bit terrible. I don't know if you have moved.
You
Barely hear you.
media of communication that we are all using. So whether we do not know God, if we upload, also comes with that as well. We cannot say we don't know Musaazi. That would be a lie. Yes, we may not have met him physically. Oh no, sorry. I'm sorry if my network is bad enough to just leave it. I have to look for a different place. But do you hear me? Okay.
Now we can hear you. Proceed. Oh.
Okay, what I was saying is that Musaazi has revealed himself to me, or at least I've interacted with him in an accessible way, one that interacts with my faculties. And he has used the medium of communication that I can understand, that I can access. So far, I have no reason to doubt him, unless I find a reason to. Equally, with God, in as much as one can say, we do not know him, we can't communicate with him, he can't communicate, but God has revealed himself. He has communicated. And he has communicated in ways that we can actually, that are accessible, okay? In terms of theologically, we would call it transactional, economic transaction. He has revealed himself in ways he's sure that we can know him. And again, for an atheist, I will take you back to nature. Nature has no knowing that we will ever know it or not, in as much as you would argue that it has given us what we have become. On the other hand, it makes more sense to me that a god or an entity that knows or that intends to give me information that I can access and to make me in that way with faculties and with the ability to know, to hear, to read, or done that. So why I would say Musaazi, I can't say I don't know Musaazi. At least I have a beginning point to say I know a guy called Musaazi, Namiti, I think Namiti, and such a name exists. And at least I've used my eyes to read it, and I understand. I'm able to say that. So even with God, as human beings, and indeed, again, I'm going to use scripture. The Bible says that we cannot say we do not know, because everything that there is to know about him, that is Romans 1. His way is littered, is everywhere in creation. All right? Because everywhere around us, there's a signature of a creator rather than something existing randomly. And that is his language, that's his communication. That's how we know him. When people communicate, we get to know them. They do not know entirely and then come to conclusions. They access him at the beginning point, and
Morning, you are breaking again, but I think
Yeah,
you had made your point that Musaazi is a good example. We all don't know him. We've never met him physically, but through certain channels and things appealing to our faculties, we can access him. We can speak to him. Similarly, God has also made himself available through different means and ways, and we can communicate with him. Can we claim then not to know him? Just like, can we claim not to know Musaazi just because we've never seen him? Musaazi, I want you to start from that point. And then just to give you a chance also to respond to these guys. I know they have ganged up on you, but
Yes, they have done. Excuse me.
I'm with you, Musaazi, I'm with you.
Petson, yeah, you don't even raise your hand.
They've ganged up on me.
Just respond to the different. I don't know. Start with that one of that illustration of Musaazi, because I think it's a good one. We all don't know Musaazi.
There's a problem. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, there is a problem. Things have been mixed up, and I want to take you back to the very beginning where I said that how do we begin life? You were born by a woman after being in their womb, in her womb for 9 months. You come here and you start hearing about God. The people who speak to you about God do not know anything about God. Now, this is debatable when I say do not know. Some people are going to say, but he speaks to me. I've spoken to him. This is very, very, very subjective, because if it weren't subjective, obviously there wouldn't be a single atheist here in this world.
Have you lost Musaazi as well? I can't hear him anymore. Can you guys hear him?
Me neither. I also dropped off. Me neither, but
maybe. Dropped off. I don't know what's happening to you people. Is it because you don't know each other?
No, it is because it is the battle between Satan and God. Don't play around.
Musaazi, you dropped off. You dropped off for about a minute, so you may just need to repeat what you're saying. We couldn't hear you.
Okay, I was saying that when you say we have not met Musaazi, we do not know Musaazi physically, but we can at least see his name every Monday, every Thursday. We hear his voice every Monday, every Thursday, whenever he joins us. So we can logically conclude that Musaazi does exist. Yes, that makes sense. The problem is that things are totally different with God. This is objective, what I just said, and what the previous speaker said about me. It's objective. There is a name there, the voice is there, the words are audible. It's misleading for anyone to say, just because they are a believer, that I know God, I speak to God. Because if that were true, as in TRUE, there wouldn't be any atheist. Everybody would be believing that there is a real God. But you cannot say that I speak to God. Somebody in Australia doubts the existence of God because he has never spoken to God. If he wants to speak to God, he can't really speak to God. So there is a bit of confusion there, and it responds very briefly to Christian Tabazi when he said that he does not know me. I think the previous speaker actually corrected that. You can say you don't know me because we have not met, but the I don't know Musaazi is not 100% correct because you at least attend virtual debates with him every Monday, every Thursday. So you wouldn't know, you don't know Musaazi. So I hope that is very clear. But the one thing you need to know that the knowledge we get from people who do not know anything about God really is not conclusive, is very subjective. So you can't base on that and say, we know God. That's my point.
Musaazi.
Chair.
I can hear
Okay,
you.
let me, Petson, you wanted to say something? I know Musaazi and
Yes.
Petson are on the same side. Let me first hear Petson. Then
Yeah,
Nicholas, I'll come to you.
I'm in the middle. I'm on the
Okay,
wall.
what are you saying? What are you saying?
But Musaazi, on top of what you're saying, is now the God that we claim to know. Different religions claim to know different gods, and everyone claims that their God is the only true God. So as they bring the example of Musaazi and God, we also have to ask the question, because now as you're answering, you said Raymond said objectively Musaazi is there. We can attach a name, artist Musaazi Miti, a journalist who has that same name. We can be sure that that's the person. But now you find that there's a God Isaiah knows, there's a God Raymond knows, there's a God Idris knows, there's a God probably some other person knows, but everyone is claiming to be knowing that God. Now the question is, which God is
Petson,
existing?
that's a separate question from what you're discussing. But yeah, thank you for your submission. We are still at the level of knowing before we go into which gods and all that. But thank you. Nicholas, you wanted to come in?
Yes, Chair. Chair, I wanted to say that Musaazi is not happy that Priest Isaiah said he doesn't know him. But he wants Priest Isaiah to be happy because I said that nobody knows God. Now, he's presenting a view also. That is a positivist view. The positivists believe in absolute reality. That is a view. But we also have the interpretivism and views. So a mind that God created does not need to stick in a box. That because this is what should be the absolute truth. You know, I remember the other gentleman you brought, the one who got a PhD in witchcraft, if that is what it was. There's some
He
sense.
calls it traditional healing, not witchcraft.
Okay, traditional healing. Yes, thank you for the correction. There is something he said. He really said that not everything can be explained. And that is his view. Now, Musaazi is probably a scientist because I also don't know him, apart from hearing him making controversial statements. I also don't know him. But when Priest Isaiah told him that he doesn't know him, he didn't feel good. Now, that is the same way God feels about him when he denies God who gave him breath. Because not everything can be explained. Many people believe that they have the soul, but they have never touched the soul. You know, there are many things that we know are there, but we've never touched, we've never seen, we've never interacted. What probably, I don't want to preempt what Priest Isaiah was presenting, but what Isaiah was trying to say is that we relate with Musaazi by faith because we meet here online, but our relationship with him and appreciation of his submission is purely by faith. But one day we shall meet him, probably, just as we believe that one day we shall meet God, but we relate with God by faith. Chair, let me end there for now.
Thank you, Nicholas. Nicholas, Isaiah, I wanted to give you a chance to finish your other submission about was it the fallacy of I don't know or the logic of I don't know? I don't remember what you had called it.
The logic of I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was actually demonstrating to you the importance of know, that the word know in that phrase, I don't know, or we don't know. The whole discussion here is about knowledge. And that is why I pointed out, and I thank God I am still consistent, that the key argument of Musaazi is we don't know, and I don't know. And if we are conversant with epistemology, how we know what we know, the scope of our knowledge, what we know and what we don't know, then we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Let me start with the example that he gives. For instance, he says that majority of the religious people, I don't want to use his conclusions that everyone, but majority of the religious people, their belief systems or their religions were passed on by their fathers or forefathers. And unfortunately, most of the religious people have not even taken time to question those belief systems. And this is what we encourage at iTiS. We encourage people to question everything. Moderator, I should share our logo so that people see our byline of this fellowship. So we people at iTiS do not belong to those religious people who are not allowed to question their beliefs and their belief systems. Number one. Number two, we at iTiS, our belief system was not passed on unto us. No, it wasn't. It is a choice that we made after evaluation, after testing everything, experimenting everything through our experiences, through our exposure. This is how we came to the conclusion of knowing what we know. So I wanted people to understand here the importance of epistemology, how we know what we know and how we don't know what we don't know. Now, for me, the example of Musaazi and Isaiah and religious people and their God still stands, and I'm going to demonstrate. Musaazi argues that now that we are always here every Monday with him on this virtual meeting, at least I can work with that. To believe, it is still belief because I can't prove. I don't know the height of Musaazi. I don't know his skin color. I just don't, I know nothing about Musaazi apart from his voice. And these inscriptions that Musaazi Namiti. That is all. But you see, the beauty of the example of the relationship between Isaiah and Musaazi is that it serves the exact purpose between the relationship of those who have never met this God, but they still interact, act, think, and believe this God. I am here to categorically inform each and every one of you here that I listen to Musaazi. I believe there is a Musaazi. I respect his views. He asks me things, I respond, but I don't know the man. Neither does he. So why are we excusing the relationship of Musaazi and Isaiah, which is based on not knowing, I don't know, and dismissing the relationship of Bob and his Jesus Christ, which actually we can conclude in Musaazi's words, that is also based on I don't know? Why are we being selective? Why are we excusing the I don't know between Musaazi and Isaiah and criticizing the I don't know between Bob and Jesus? Because these are the same things. That is what my brother Nicholas has just told you, that the relationship between Isaiah and Namiti is based on faith. The assumption that Musaazi is there because I can hear his voice. But you see, Isaiah, you always hear my voice here. Now, how sure are you, now that we are talking about I don't know, how sure are you, Musaazi, that people who believe Jesus do not hear his voice? Because still that you don't know. Then why are you making a conclusion that there is no God when you don't know? Is a conclusion possible on the grounds of I don't know? If believers in the God they don't know believe there is a God, they are wrong to believe what they don't know. Non-believers who do not know whether there is God or not, they are wrong to conclude there is no God. Is anyone following?
Now that's why I disagree with Musaazi.
Exactly. So we should balance this boat. If believers in God are wrong based on I don't know, non-believers in God are wrong because they're also based on I don't know. This is the logic of I don't know.
True.
Now, this is why we need to go back, because the question that we are discussing here, the thing that we are wrestling with here, is a huge philosophical idea. And I would like to introduce you to the art of epistemology. Epistemology. How do we know what we know? It's very, very, very important. And epistemology has got two categories: rationalism, how we know, and empiricism. Now, I am not going to exhaust you with these jargons. Let me just give you examples. Rationalism is a brain of mathematics. 1 + 1 = 2. This is why the sub-arguments of Musaazi were arguing, if there is God, why doesn't he just present himself and we see him and we touch him?
Or even like on this call, he tells us I'm there because he's listening.
Thank you. That is the rationalistic approach of epistemology. 1 + 1 = 2. If God is good, why are people dying? And yet, why is there so much evil, death, accidents, etc.? That is the rational critique of the epistemology of God. 1 + 1 = 2. Brain, logic, facts. Good. But you see, that is not all what epistemology is. There is another branch or category of epistemology, or the other side of the same coin: empiricism. Now, empiricism is the mind that calculates 1 + 1. Question: do gods calculate 1 + 1?
We don't know.
Peterson, you're very consistent today, because the topic is we don't know. Good. Good. But have we at least seen them do the same? Have we seen gods coming up with computers like we have, and then we say these are gods' computers?
We have not.
Because we know they are herdsmen where I come from.
You're saying goats, or you're saying animal? You say animals.
Animals.
Yeah, they. I think they have computers.
Be consistent, Peterson.
When you said goats,
I don't know.
Because I have some animals. I can say that they have some techniques they use which are like close to a computer.
We are not discussing techniques. Have you seen a goat operating a laptop?
And that computer is not a laptop. A computer is just that.
The question is clear, Peterson. You're wasting our time. Peterson, please don't waste our time. Have you seen a goat with a laptop? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you. That's
No.
what we wanted. Good. That's what we wanted. Now, empiricism, gentlemen, empiricism is the mind that calculates, number one. Number two, the purpose of calculation. Now, how we know what we know is very crucial for you to understand that we shouldn't get stuck at the rationalistic level. 1 + 1 = 2. Mathematics does not work like that. Even at the graduate level of mathematics, we know that 1 + 1 does not always equal to 2. True or false? Those who have done
Me, I'm not a
mathematics.
mathematician.
Exactly, but
The math that I know is that 1 + 1 = 2.
But you see, at an advanced level of mathematics, 1 + 1 will not always equal to 2. It depends on which one. Now, such questions shift us from the rationalistic view of how we know what we know and how we don't know what we know to the empirical view of how we know what we know and how we don't know what we don't know. These things are very important because you guys keep raising things and you think they are simplistic, that they are very complex. Why am I saying this? You have to understand that while there is a mind that, while there's a brain that calculates 1 + 1 = 2, there is a mind that causes that brain to come up with those calculations. 1, 2. There is a purpose for those calculations. That is how engineering is born and design is put in place. This is why, of all the creatures, human beings are more innovative and differently innovative and creative than other animals. So we do not expect human beings to understand and to square. Person, please.
That's why I was going to disagree with you. A termite. Have you ever seen an anthill inside an anthill and
moderator,
you see the architect?
Moderator.
The engineering inside an anthill. Then you'll understand that human beings are not only the genius.
Isaiah, proceed. Guys, we're running out of time. We need to be organized. But raise your hand if you answer something, please.
Good.
Like everybody. Yeah.
So how we know what we know? Human beings, there must be an event. And I mentioned these 5 easier. They are very important for us to understand and to make these conclusions. How we know what we know? There must be an event. There must be the environment within which that event happens. There must be exposure. Exposure, people with brains and minds to interpret and assess what has happened in that event. Now, that event, those brains approach it with an experimental view. They experiment. After that experiment, human beings have an experience. Now, with those 5 E's, some knowledge is born out of that. That is why Francis was telling you that I was born, he was giving you his story, where he was born. And very well, because even Musaazi started by giving us his past history, his experience, and how we came to this. We are all products of an event, of the environment within which it happens, of the experiments we do, then the exposure, then the experience. That is how we know what we know. So I thought, moderator, this is very important for us to understand.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I have 2 hands up. I have Pedson and then Musaazi. Let me start with Pedson and then I'll go to Musaazi. Musaazi, you'll have the last word.
Hey,
because of time.
Now, me, I wanted to come out. I wanted to come in on that point of where we think that like what Isaiah was saying, that human beings, we think were the most genius creatures. And when he brought in the aspect of engineering, when you look at an anthill and see the earthworks, the engineering inside that anthill, or even just a basic bird nest, how it is weaved. Because the time when you was asking about a computer, that's the example I wanted to bring in. Do you know some birds make nests, and there are 360 degrees. If you put in a protractor, you find that it is very properly circular. So the engineering works, the being genius is not only special to human beings, but I think to most creatures.
Thank you, Peterson. I think you've made your point. Musaazi, we have 3 minutes to go. As the person who has taken the most punches today, just wrap this up for us.
What I want to say is that there has been confusion of issues. For example, if you know something objectively and you know something subjectively, those are equated, and I disagree with that. If you know something objectively, it means that you can tell the story to, let's say, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, and they are all going to agree that what you are saying does make sense. If you are saying something you know, talking about something you know subjectively, you are going to have people say, but there is this problem, there is that problem, there is this problem. So, in conclusion, we've not really, I've not been able to get a proper response because of the confusion of the issues. And lastly, for believers, I ask always myself that if you've lived here, let's say for 80 years, and you've been debating about the existence of God, sometimes you even have had doubts, and yet you are a believer, then you have death, which is final. I'm saying final because nobody has ever died and come back to tell us that when you die, you meet God. How do you get to know God after death and after living here and not getting to know all there is to know about Him? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Musaazi. We have run out of time. I want to thank everybody. Thank you for joining in. It's Monday. This conversation is not over, obviously. So please come back next Monday and any other Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. East African time. We discuss such, not just, the whole knowing, but basically anything about God, the Bible, belief, and you name it. So thank you for joining in. Next Monday, we'll have a discussion about marriage. There's a proposed marriage bill 2024. We'll have some panelists, some of whom are already here. We'll have the Gospel Ninja as one of the panelists. We'll have Priest Isaiah, and then we'll have another gentleman, an advocate called Arthur Ayorekire, who feels the marriage bill is threatening Christian marriage. So next Monday, please keep time, 6 to 8 p.m. We'll be here. May God bless you and keep you until we meet again. Bye-bye.
Amen. Bye.